Doug.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. We've got another great conversation today with three book authors who will be sharing their story, their inspiration, some tips and techniques, and a variety of other things that will make your next hour really worthwhile. I'd like to introduce our moderator, Stefanie Austin. She's also an author. She's also an extraordinary professional and leader. She's our executive director for Global Chamber Austin. She's doing some great work in the state of Texas and around the world. So Stefanie, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for guiding us today, and look forward to a great conversation.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you so much. And he's an author himself. He didn't share that, and he's a great leader. So thank you so much. I also like to thank Gloria Peterson for the opportunity. This author series has just truly taken off, and I'm so excited about it. And I'm definitely excited about the authors that we have here today. Just a few housekeeping items that I'd like to share with everyone. Please make sure you put your information in the chat, how people can connect with you. If you wrote a book, how they can connect with you there, put that link in there. If you have any questions, put that in the chat. I'll definitely try to monitor that. But as we introduce and as the presenters speak, if we have some time there, we'll have them maybe ask the questions in the middle. It all depends. It may all be at the end. And so what we'll start with, we have three phenomenal speakers. We have, sorry about that. I want to make sure I say his name correctly. We have Don McGreal. We're going to have Elise Krentzel, and we'll have Zach Selch. So we'll first start off with Don McGreal. It was a pleasure. I got an opportunity to talk with Don last week. It was just really a warm and very great discussion. He is the vice president of Learning Solutions and the founder of Improving, which happens to be what my chair, my board. He's also with the VP of Improving. Improving is a product development company with 16 offices across North America. And with his 25 years of experience in software industry and his engaging and collaborative approach, Don has become a sought-after consultant, trainer, and speaker for clients ranging from startups to Fortune 500. And so one of the things that Don has done, he's a published author. He has written numerous articles, developed popular courseware, and co-authored the best-selling book, The Professional Product Owner, Leveraging Scrum as a Competitive Advantage. So I won't share all of their bio. You can definitely go to Global Chamber and go to our event page and read more about our authors. But without further ado, I would like to introduce Don McGreal. Don, you are up.
Hi there. Pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. So Don, tell us a little. Let's just tell us a little. What made you decide to start writing in regards to the competitive advantage? And I can always make an assumption because you've been in that area, but what started that for you?
Yeah, so we do a lot of training. You know, we're a lot of our clients around the world, they mostly do software development, not always in software development. So we teach them, you know, not just how to build software, but how to manage software projects. So I don't know if you guys are familiar, but in the software space, agile practices and Scrum in particular have taken off, are the most popular way of developing software. So I had the opportunity back in 2011 to start teaching the certified Scrum material. And I spent a lot of time on the product side. So the product owner role, product manager, I've played that role a lot. And I had the opportunity to help write the product owner certification class, or rewrite it for the home of Scrum, scrum.org. And so we have a great partnership with them. We're the largest provider of training for them. I think we even provide members a discount. If you ever want to take a class, we'll make that available to you guys too. But we do thousands of students every year, about 30 classes a month. But anyways, I ended up teaching that product owner course a lot. And my counterpart in Europe, Ralph Jokum, he had taught that course more than anyone. So between the two of us, we had taught the course hundreds of times. And so we had rewritten that course, we had understood the course, and we even taught together once. And it was a bit of a disaster because we each have taught it so much. We have so many stories to tell for every part, every section of it, that we just completely ran out of time. And that sort of got us thinking afterwards over beers, maybe we should write a book. If we put all this down, we've got proven content. It's a successful class. People like the class, but there's not enough room for put all of our thoughts into it. But a book would be perfect. So we were really fortunate. We had a proven outline. We literally took the outline of the course and the 3 sections of the course, made it the 3 sections of the book. We talked to scrum.org about the opportunity to do this because they technically, even though we built it, they own the content, the IP of the course. But they were happy to let us use the images and stuff from class. So it's a perfect companion to that class. So it kind of was an easy, no-brainer way of going about it. It did take us 2 years to do. It took us a while to build it because he's in Europe. We're one of the most busiest trainers in Europe. I'm pretty busy over here running my department inside of improving.
So for us who are laymen who don't even know what Scrum means, Scrum Master, I mean, can you tell us in layman terms, what is Scrum and Master, and what does it do? How does it benefit anyone or a person who may not even know what that skill is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Scrum is the most popular set of practices under the Agile umbrella, we'll say. Now, agility basically means let's work with our customers. Let's not think that we can figure everything out up front because nobody knows. It's complex. So we need to put a process in place that enables change, that embraces change. Like the only thing we know for sure is things are going to change. And so that's kind of what it's designed for. So Scrum is a more concrete set of practices under that Agile umbrella, where it says, you know, you're not going to go more than 30 days without building something and showing your customer something. You're going to work closely with them. There's going to be accountabilities for that. Like the product owner, and specifically my role, they're accountable for the return on investment every single iteration or sprint, they call it in Scrum. So when the other role is a Scrum Master, who's the master of Scrum, they've mastered Scrum. They understand Scrum. They make sure they're accountable for a process. If the team isn't learning and adapting a process and taking ownership of it, the accountability lies with that role. Excuse me. So that's essentially what that is. So there's certain artifacts that have to be built. There's certain roles that have to be played, and there's like 5 events that have to happen under that Scrum framework. And so we focus specifically in our book around the role of product owner.
Wonderful. Now, share with me in regards to their Scrum Master. I think you and I talked about this. This course can be taught in person and virtual. Where does the learner get the most value? Is it more than the personal in person or virtual?
Well, you know, before COVID, we were a little bit picky about that. I was a bit of a snob, to be quite honest. If a client said, "Hey, could we do this virtually?" We're kind of like all over the place. We would say, "Well, no. If you want to take this seriously, you have to invest in bringing people together. This is like a face-to-face thing. It's one of the principles of agility. It's like let's invest in this. And you know, the certifying body, Scrum.org, wouldn't let us do the certification training remotely, so we had that to fall on as well. And then COVID happened, and then it's like, we got to try something, right? So we started doing it. I was very skeptical, but I have to say I'm pretty impressed at how well those have turned out over the years. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on the learner. I think that the ability to be distracted is a lot higher remotely. But with tools like, I don't know if you've used Mural or Miro, or it's in breakout rooms with Zoom. It's quite amazing where you can I could set up a product wall where it's like, over here, you're going to build a vision for your product. And over here, you're going to write, you know, your top features and your metrics of value, how you're going to measure. And you guys are going to go off in a breakout room for 5 to 10 minutes, go come up with something and present it back to the class afterwards. So they could be working collaboratively, almost better than in person sometimes. Like you could say, everybody, what are your thoughts on this topic? In the next minute, put stickies in this area. And you could have 20 people contributing in no time at all. Imagine that in person where they're all kind of standing around it would take a lot more than a minute to get everybody's up there and for them to read it. So there are some things that actually turned out better. But honestly, after that experience of the years of doing remote stuff, I do have to say in person seems to be a lot better, because I get to wander around, listen in on conversations, stick my head in. Then at breaks and at lunch, we get to talk about the real issues that are going on in their organizations. Like that kind of goes away remotely when everybody goes to their kitchen and raids the fridge.
Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to share before we open the floor for people to ask some questions?
Well, I mean, just the book was published in 2018, and with Pearson, and they've ended up, they've told us that it is one of their best sellers. It's the bestseller of that series. So if you are interested in that role of managing a product, like maybe you're in a position of building a product, doesn't even have to be software. We've had people doing this for oil and gas and HR and putting together programs, and you are the visionary, or you want to bring a team in to build it. This is something that could apply even if you're brand new to it. So if that is of interest to you, take a look at it. The first part of the book is around the theory of product management, and vision, value, and validation. Those are the three core things. Establish a vision, measure success through real value, and then validate your ideas because you don't know that they're right. So that's the core. And we don't introduce Scrum until the second part as a way to achieve product management. So we talk about strategy, Scrum, and then tactical things like building a product backlog, writing your requirements down, making a release plan. So it gives you some real things that you can go do afterwards.
Lainey, I saw that you had your hand raised.
Yeah, Don answered my question. I've been doing a little bit of reading about this, and I didn't realize that Agile and Scrum could apply to anything except software development. So it's interesting to hear you say that it has a broader application.
It does, and I'd have to say these days that it's growing faster than it's almost over the. It's crossed the chasm and over to what do they call it? Late adopters in the software world. Mm-hmm. But in the other areas, in other industries, it's still an early adopters stage, I would say. So like we literally have people on oil platforms out in the Gulf of Mexico using Scrum to drill for oil. Or an HR department trying to put new initiatives together, doing a sales team, or a marketing group putting campaigns together. Whenever you are building something that is unknown, that no one person knows the outcome of or can predict, then there's a place for Scrum. And that you want more Agile. If you've done it many, many times and you know the best practices, then it's overhead to be pausing and checking and validating all the time. So it's overhead in the situations you know the outcome.
So since I'm unmuted for a minute, sorry, Dana, I just want to ask one more question is, how did you come to learn about this, to take this on, to become the expert?
Well, so I'm a Canadian and I moved to Texas. This is where I am right now, back in 2000. And I was a programmer. I was in software development. And I worked with IBM where I picked up a lot of business analysis skills. So like designing and stuff like that before moving here. And in 2003, on my client's project, we decided to try something called Scrum. A book had been written about it. The Agile Manifesto was only a couple of years old, where that's where it kind of came out. So it was brand new. We just tried it and it worked out so well. I'm like, I'm taking this with me everywhere. So ever since then, I've been applying it and moved into the product owner role more. And as a product company, like a lot of times we got teams all around this office that we form Scrum teams, and they're building products for our customers. But oftentimes our customers are the bottlenecks because they can articulate what they really want. So they feel like they have to come up with all these requirements, but they're not right. And they're stressed out about getting them right. So we want to work with them in a better way. So our team will train our clients on how to manage these products while we do the work of building these products. So I've worked with Improving since 2006. We started it, there was 12 of us. Now we're up to over 1,700 people. And we've been applying, Scrum has been one of the reasons for that, I'd say, agility anyways. It's about being agile. Scrum may disappear in a few years, but something better came along, we would jump ship. But it's just been the best thing we found so far to work better with our customers.
That is great. Lena, did you have any follow-up questions before I move on to the next person?
No, thanks very much.
Thank you. We have Dana Austin. She's raised her hand.
Yes,
Dana.
Zach, thank you so much for coming to share this concept with us. I'm excited for a few different reasons. And then I have one question about your book publishing process. So remind me to get that in. I'm excited about this Scrum because it's new to me, but my background is nursing and it's also coaching writers, right? NT. So in the nursing process, there's a method called the SOAP method. So it's subjective, objective, assess, plan. And then there's an API method, assessment, plan. So it sounds similar. So anytime there's an opportunity to improve a process, I'm always excited. So, but the one factor that's unpredictable is human behavior. Like you can say there's a probability this person might behave this way. How do you control for that in this Scrum? And then my last question on that is, did this company actually get the book published for you guys?
Yeah, good question. I've heard of the SOAP method too. I've had people in my class that have come from the medical field, and it is very similar, right? Because if you think we call it an empirical process model, where you make decisions based on results, on data, on observations, which is a scientific method. So it does come like it's plan, do, check, act, and then it's a repeatable thing. So based on what you see, then you learn something else. So the point is that we can't predict anything, and let's just relieve ourselves from the burden of having to predict completely. So smaller cycles is the answer. So yeah, the human factor, of course, creates complexity. It creates a complex environment whenever humans are involved. But because of that, no matter what happens in that small iteration, we go heads down, we build something. It might be the worst outcome possible. It's still positive because we learn. And then we're going to build it. We're going to improve the next time. And it's always about getting better. And then from a publishing standpoint, Pearson Radisson Wesley was our publisher. The fact that we were affiliated with the certifying body, scrum.org. So Improving is my company. And we are a partner with scrum.org. That scrum.org used our book as the first book in a series that they decided to do. So there's a scrum.org series. So they've got one on Scrum Mastery. They've got one on scaling Scrum. They've got one on leadership around Scrum. So they started building, but ours was the first book to be signed, not the first to be published. It took us longer. Ours was the second to be published. So the backing of scrum.org really enabled this to happen, and Improving, my company here, supported it, of course, because that results in more business for us as well.
Thank you so much. And I didn't hear one A in your Canadian accent, but we're going to accept that you're Canadian.
Over the last 23 years, it's kind of like I speak in public so much that I need people to pay attention. And if I start using all my Canadianism, they get distracted.
Well, I wouldn't say it was distracted. It's just like oh, wonderful accent. So different people that have from different places.
I get to blame it a lot. So if I ever mess up some wording or a metaphor or something, I just say, "Oh no, you don't." That's just what we say in Canada, and usually people believe me.
Forgiving.
Yeah, well, that's a Canadian term. You wouldn't have heard of it.
Yes. I do have a question for you, Don, in regards to, like Dana mentioned, healthcare. I'm in healthcare also, but however, also being in healthcare, I do use a lot of project management. And so it sounds like your book, The Professional Product Owner Leveraging Scrum as a Competitive Advantage, it sounds like they almost mirror project management. This may be like the Scrum is on steroids to help even better utilize project management. Can you a little bit around that?
Yeah. In the very first chapter, we point that out. It may be like the first few paragraphs is project versus product. Because when you think about projects, it's about on time, on budget, within scope, right? It's like if we can, but as a product manager, that's not success, right? We could be on time, on budget, within scope all day long and not produce a shred of value for anyone. Mm-hmm. So we think in terms of product management, meaning it's I don't care how efficient your process or your work is, unless you're building the right, if you're not building the right thing, then that's wasteful for everybody.
Mhm.
So we're trying to change the mindset of traditional project management into product management. And that's what we're focusing on. And that's why Scrum isn't in the main title, right? It's professional product owner. And then we said a professional product owner or manager. I would probably prefer to call it product manager because it's more generic than with Scrum, but scrum.org is our partner. So, but a professional product manager, they can see Scrum as a tool to leverage it, that they can leverage as a competitive advantage. So by thinking in a product mindset, by thinking in terms of real value to their customers, working often with their customers and changing direction based on empirical evidence, then that's a competitive advantage. So they're using Scrum for that. And so that's why we kind of move away. Projects are important, but in Scrum, your project is just the length of a sprint, time, budget, scope. And then after, so it's like 2 weeks, maybe no more than 30 days is your project. You learn from it, you do another one based off of that. But what's important is the product, right?
Great, wonderful. Thank you so much, Don. Don, do you mind putting in the chat how people can get in touch with you, connect with you, and also purchase your book? I think this is a great,
Absolutely.
great tool. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I think find it just very beneficial, and I'm interested also in learning more about it. What I like what you said earlier, that as Global Chamber members, we are able to get a discount. So as a member, you need to go out there, log into your account. And is it underneath improving, Don? Would that be underneath improving, or is it underneath something else for their discount? Do you know?
I'm not exactly sure. I have a code. Doug, I said Doug a code a while ago, years ago, probably now. Maybe Doug can answer that, but or maybe put it in the chat. Or could I put the code in the chat? I know this is going on YouTube, so we want to make sure.
Probably wouldn't recommend putting in the chat, because then it opens it up to everyone who's not a Global Chamber member. But Doug is on.
We'll make it available.
We'll make it available, and then Doug can make sure that he'll put that in our newsletters for Global Chamber, or get it to us some kind of way. But thank you so much. Anybody else have questions for Don? We really appreciate you, Don, for taking your time. Any questions? All right. So next that we have up, we have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person. Don's wonderful as well. So I'm not saying that Don wasn't, but however, what I would like to say, Zach Selch. So as I read a little bit about Zach, what I really like is that he has 35 years of international business leadership. And what he really enjoyed was helping people tasked with international sales growth. Why would that not be important to Global Chamber? Global Chamber, we're global, so sales growth is wonderful, as well as just growing sales within your business. He achieved excellence in doing that. His international sales growth for most companies under $500 million, all about having engaged, competent, and accountable partners. And partners selling all the right markets and having the right systems in place to drive sales accountability. And so being in the industry, if you are an entrepreneur, even if you're not an entrepreneur, you're a Fortune 500 company and you're trying to sell a service or a business, it's very important, it's key. And so therefore you need to know what are those tools, what is the success on growing your business. Zach is a guy who can help them. Zach has sold to 135 markets around the world for NASDAQ 100 companies, a $500 million company, and a dozen startups spanning industries from FMCGs, construction tech, IT, SaaS, and medical products. Zach is the only person who's focused on coaching, training, and supporting international sales VPs, and has been in their shoes, but also has the connection and the knowledge to get them where they need to. He wrote a book, Global Sales. So without further ado, Zach, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad to have you. Thank you for joining us today and being a presenter.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. It's always a lot of fun to talk to people from the Global Chamber. And I'll just throw out one thing, and then maybe we'll see if you have any questions or that kind of thing. So last week, I got a call from a friend of a friend I was actually walking my dog, and he calls me up. He says, look, I have this problem. I'm trying to set up a business in this country. And he talks through it. He says, people have been trying to help me out. I talked to this guy and that guy in the embassy and this and this and this. And I have a problem. This is going to cost me like $50,000 or $60,000. I don't know if I'm going to walk away from opening up a business in this country or if I should try and figure it out. Anyway, I said, okay, here's what you do. You call this guy, you say this sentence and see how that works. And he hangs up. He calls me back about an hour later and he goes, oh my God, it worked. I got the paperwork I needed. My business is open. And I said, great. And he goes, and this is where I was going with this. He goes, everybody out there teaches you the rules of the game. He goes, nobody else teaches you how to win. You're like teaching me how to win the game. That's what you should put on your LinkedIn profile, right? So, and the point is, there are all these people who are tasked, government people, bureaucrats, all sorts of other people, and they're great people. I have a lot of friends who work for the Commerce Department or the State Department and stuff like that. And they will teach you the rules of international business, right? But virtually none of them have ever gotten a purchase order, right? And in the end of the day, what you really need to do is understand how to sell. And that's why I wrote my book, because a couple of years ago, I was in, I joined one of these webinars that was being given by a lawyer who was talking about how to recruit distributors. And I said, everything he is saying is wrong. And he's teaching all these people. I said, you're going to end up with 20 distributors and none of them are going to sell a penny for you. And the object of the game isn't to recruit distributors. The object of the game is to get sales. And that was one of the things that sort of drove me in the idea of writing a book, right? Because, 94%, something like that of the economy is outside of the US. There are virtually no companies in the US that couldn't grow their international sales, manufacturers that couldn't grow their international sales. And typically people are doing a really bad job of it. And what I find is when I go and I help a company out, it is really easy to get them 100% growth in sales. Sometimes it's relatively easy to get them 1,000% growth in sales, not because I'm a magician or a superhero, just because nobody has ever taught them. Nobody has ever taught them what to do to, actually sell more. So anyway, so the first question that popped up here was, what was the sentence you shared that turned things around? And I don't want to keep it that cryptic, but essentially, he had hired somebody to interface with the government of a country to get him the paperwork to open up a business in a country that is very much encouraging foreign entities to set up their headquarters there for the Middle East and Europe. And his consultant kept saying there was this problem or that problem and delaying and asking for more money. And my friend's friend wasn't sure if there were actually problems with the government or if this guy was trying to squeeze him for more money or anything like that. And I said, it's really simple. Tell him that you have a business trip that's going to bring you to the area in 2 weeks. Tell him that on, such and such a date, you're actually going to be in town. And it would be a great idea if he took you into the government ministry so you could introduce yourself. And within 2 hours, he had all the paperwork, which I said, this guy probably has all the paperwork on his desk right now. And he is trying to squeeze you for more money. And he knows that if you show up at the government ministry to ask what's going on, he could conceivably get in very serious trouble. So, that was it, right? He got his paperwork, and he was, very, very close to giving up on working in this country, right? After investing about, $50,000 or $60,000 in the process. So that was that. And nobody else was going to tell him that, right? He was talking to the embassy, he was talking to other people, nobody else told him that. So, and that's just what you get from 35 years of doing business, right? Of being in the field.
Wow, okay. Lainey, I see you have your hand raised. Feel free to unmute.
Thanks, Stephanie. Zach, I know you've actually written multiple books, so maybe you'll talk about that before we're done. But I'm curious, is there a part of the world, a country, a region that you're seeing opportunities show up now that maybe hadn't been there before?
So that's a great question, Lainey. I think there are. I think I'll tell you something that's a little bit probably off of everybody's radar is I think we're going to see in the next 10 years a lot of really good software products coming out of sub-Saharan Africa and India. And I think there are some very, very good products available right now. And the problem they have isn't the technology, it's in sales. And that I think is very, very interesting. In the same way that if you think about it, those of you who are old enough, if you think about, imagine somebody telling you in 1990 that you were going to drive a Korean car, you would have probably thought they were nuts, right? And now, most of us at one point or another have had a Korean car, right? And they're fantastic cars. And if somebody said to you, your accounting software, your CRM, or your word processor in 5 years is going to come out of Ghana, you'd probably say you're crazy, right? But I think we're going to see stuff like that because there's some really good products. What they don't have is a good way of selling it and marketing it right now. So that's one thing. In terms of selling American products, I think virtually every market is underutilized by America. I think the number is something. First of all, about 80% of American companies that try to sell outside of the US and Canada give up. Right? About 80% of American products that are exported to 5 countries, right? So what I always, and I'll talk to people, my wife always laughs at this sentence, but I'll talk to somebody at a trade show or I'll talk to somebody and I'll say, where are you focusing on selling? And he'll say, Japan, France, and Italy. And I'll say, your wife wants you to take her to Japan, France, and Italy, right? And he'll laugh. I say, because there's no reason in the world, there's no product in the world that those are the 3 best markets for. If you've chosen those 3 markets, you are not going to sell. You're going to come back in 5 years and tell me that the world isn't ready for your product, right? Typically, if you're looking to make money, you're going to come and you're going to say, my best market is Bangladesh. My best market is the Ukraine. My best market is Poland. My best market is Uganda, right? Your best market probably will not be Italy unless you're making like a pasta mold or something, right? And very few people are making those products. So people are typically going into this emotionally. They're not looking for the money, right? And that's the difference, So anyway, I hope that answered your question.
Absolutely. I have a question for you, Zach, in regards to artificial intelligence and sales. How do you see that evolving? It seemed like artificial intelligence can do almost everything. So what do you see that?
Boy, that's a great question. I know a lot of people who are working with artificial intelligence in sales right now. It's interesting because that's a great question. So, you think about the fact that since COVID, face-to-face selling has reduced dramatically, right? And we're doing a lot more through cold emailing and all that. Now, on the flip side, this really isn't I can answer your question. I know a lot about it, but it isn't my real strength. There is a arms war between your email server and people who are trying to cold email, where your Outlook or your Google Gmail is trying to do everything it can to keep you from getting hit with cold emails. And emailing salespeople are trying to do everything they can to get emails into your inbox. So the best use right now of artificial intelligence is essentially crafting what they call relevance at scale, which means I can use artificial intelligence. I can put in a list of 1,000 people's LinkedIn profiles, and it will write an email that will be relevant and personalized for each of those people, and will get through their email, and will get through their email filter, and will probably get opened, right? And that's pretty cool. It's not, that's sort of like, for me, that's almost like talking to a chef about how great McDonald's can be, right? It sort of hurts me, the idea that people are using these tools to fake rapport, fake a relationship, all of that. But it does get a lot of, a lot of money is being generated by AI built outreach. And that's the future, right? I think that will not stop or not go backwards.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that information. With AI doing so much, I'm like, how will it, I won't say take over, but I guess allow more efficiency, whether it's in sales, whether it's in
but I'll tell you something else. Like, if you can picture, and this is going to sound a little funny, but you sort of picture the movies, the World War II movies of the pilots, and these guys were, getting out in the airplanes in their leather jackets and going up where it was freezing cold with no oxygen, and they were getting shot at and all of that. And nowadays, the people who are essentially doing the exact same job are, 100 pounds, sitting in a basement someplace, playing with a joystick, running a drone, and they could be men or women, or that you don't need what you used to need to be a pilot, right? And what's happening with AI is you can take a 22-year-old kid who has really, really bad personal skills, very low self-esteem, can't look somebody in the eye, but is really good with computers. And you can make him into a fantastic salesperson if he's willing to put in the hours, right? And so what you're seeing you're seeing thousands and thousands of, and it's almost a male thing. Young men, to some extent, probably young women too, but it's a lot of young men who have no social skills whatsoever, sitting around in a room playing with computers, generating really good sales material, right? And it's sort of crazy to think about how effective this is. And this is something that didn't exist 2 years ago, right? And I don't know where it's going with that, but it's weaponizing sales at a scalable way. Now, this really is not my field. I work with people like that, and what's sort of funny is I outsource. For some of my clients, I hire agencies that do exactly this to help get them that type of work. But this isn't the type of work I do myself. But it is a big part of sales right now. If you've gotten, if you think about all these cold emails, these spams you're getting, the chances are some, 22-year-old kid who doesn't have the guts to look you in the eye probably is sitting on his parents' couch in the basement writing those emails through software.
That's true. That's so true. I've seen a couple of sales pitch that comes from avatars now that look like real people.
Right.
And the lips are moving, matching the words, the body language. It's getting better and better. It seems like, every time I see it. So I'm really excited and sad, because then you end up losing that art, from the human
Right.
touch. So, and with the generation, that's what they're accustomed to, because they're on games a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. Any other questions about international sales or international business?
All right. Well, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I have a different kind of question. Okay, I'm going
Sure.
to pivot you. I'm going to pivot you away from that for a minute and take you over to LinkedIn, because I am just blown. I am blown away by you when you post things. You're amazing at what you post. Okay, but you
Thank
get these comments, and they're like 60 comments, and the rest of us are struggling for 5. And so I'm like, what is your secret? Is it the topic? Why do you think that is happening with your posts in particular?
No, that's a great question. So I'm gonna say I can give you a short answer, and honestly, if you ever want, feel free to reach out and I can chat with you a little bit. I can reach out. I can talk to you a little bit more in depth. But everything I do with intent, right? And that's probably the single biggest characteristic of who I am in general, right? I parent with intent. I cook with intent. And when I work on social media, I work with intent, right? So if you take a look at my posts, it might look like, hey, I got up at 7:30 in the morning and I just jotted something down, right? But I have a very, very coordinated system and planned out weeks, if not months in advance, what I'm posting. And what I find is, and I've worked with different people, I coach people at what I do, but I typically am working with 2 or 3 coaches at any given time myself, right? So I've been coached on some of this stuff. I've done courses on it. I've read books on it. And part of this is the order in the week. I don't know how much of my stuff you've read, but about once a month, I post a story about, I don't know if this will ring a bell, but when my dad died, I cremated him. I divided him into 40 units, and I took the units of ashes all over the world. And I spread his ashes in 40 different places over a couple of years, right? So I have, I'll publish about once a month. I'll write a story about that. I put pictures of my corgi, usually playing on a beach in front of a sunrise. I'll put that up 2 or 3 times a month. And then I'll talk about like food. Doug knows me. Doug, you wanna tell people how you met me? So Doug might be off. The first time Doug came into contact, I posted something about tuna sandwiches in Tunisia, right? So I post food once every 2 weeks, something like that. Now, what happens is then I interspace it with very serious stuff, because the stuff that I post, if you are not interested in international sales, if you're not, the international sales manager of a manufacturer, most of the stuff I post is going to be really dull. It's going to be like somebody talking about playing chess, right? So, but what I want is to drive up engagement so that when I do post a post about what's important to me, the engagement is up. And the way the algorithm with LinkedIn works is, if I post a picture of my dog playing on the sand, I'll get, enough views and enough people saying, oh, isn't your dog cute? That the next day I'll get, thousands of views on what's important. And that will then drive conversation and stuff like that. So that was a long answer
Yeah,
and to your question there. I hope it helped.
gave me something to really think about.
Yes, me too. Great information. Definitely great information. So I just want to make sure, Zach, that you please post your information in there, how people can get in touch with you if you haven't done so already, how they can.
Yeah, I put my LinkedIn there. I have a website. I put a link to my book. It's really not difficult to find me. I am the only Zach Selch on LinkedIn. So
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, let me introduce myself. Again, my name is Stefanie Austin. I am the Executive Director of Global Chamber of Austin, and I too am an author. I've written 2 books. And my last book here was My Will or His Will, if you're able to see it. And it is a series. And so my 3rd book is coming up. It will definitely be here. I'm going to showcase it at the Transformational Writers Conference that will be in Puerto Rico in December. Dana Austin, she is, again, she's my sister, but she's also the Executive Director of Global Chamber Austin. I'll have everyone introduce themselves. But that's where I'll be, I'll launch my book there in Puerto Rico. Are you guys able to see it, or did my green screen block it out? Are you able to see my book?
We could see it, and I'm holding it up as well.
Well, yeah, we can't see it because your background is covering it, so we
Oh,
don't see it.
I'm sorry.
Okay, there you go. We see it now. When you bring it close to your chest, and we're able to, there you go. And so as an author, what inspired me with those books is basically there were times I would just send out spiritual nuggets, and they were really for myself. And as I was sending them for myself, or creating them for myself, I started sending them to friends, families, and loved ones. And it just grew, and people kept asking, when are you going to write your book? I'm like, no, this is not a book. I'm just sending just to encourage people along the way. And so then as time went on, I won't go long about it. I end up writing a book. God gave me the title and he gave me the image. And so that's what I end up doing. My other job or business that I've launched this year is called Austin Project Management Consulting. And basically what I'm doing there is helping people with project management, especially organizations that, 1, may not be able to afford a project manager, or 2, they have projects and they have delegated to different people. And so therefore their plate is full. And so what I tell them, I am here to help you to make the right solution and the right decision. And so therefore I go in as a subcontractor when available, short-term or long-term. And eventually I want to write something about project management from the healthcare arena. I'm partnering with someone very soon. Her name is Annie, and she's with Global Chamber Los Angeles. And I know I'm tooting her horn, it's not about her, but what I'm excited about, we're doing some things that really brings a smile to my heart, because I love healthcare, and I've done it for so long. And between her and I partnering together, I can see a book in the making sometime next year. So we're really excited about it, glad to be here. And I want to make sure that I get the opportunity to allow everyone else to introduce who you are. It's 10:48. I'm giving everyone at least a minute to introduce who they are. So whoever would like to go first, feel free to do so.
Oh, we have somebody new that just joined us. Where is
Hi, Amira.
Amira? You got here towards the end.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Wonderful. So what we're doing right now, we're introducing everyone. We have one person, we got to save a couple of minutes at the end for, I think it's Amira or Lynn, who will be introducing the next author book series. So
Okay.
who would like to go first in regards to introducing yourself? Again, you have 1 minute.
I'd like to say that Elise Krentzel, some of you might have been looking for her to be in the spot, but something unavoidable came up for her, so she couldn't be here today. So
Yeah.
I did want to mention that. And Amira, I wanted to say that I posted on LinkedIn, Zach.
Oh yeah.
This program, and she responded right away and said she was going to be here. Amira, even though you missed the first part, it was taped, and it will be on the Global Chamber YouTube channel, so you can catch yourself up later.
That's wonderful.
wanna say
I
that.
actually, I'm glad that I caught it when I did, because I looked at the Sydney time
Okay.
at 11 a.m. and I I had it scheduled for that. So luckily I looked at my email though, and I saw this meeting is starting now, and I was like, wait a minute.
Right.
So here I am.
Well, thank you, thank you. So would you like to go ahead, Amira, and introduce who you are? Tell us who you are in a minute or less, and what you do in your business or your connection.
Okay. Well, I'm just here to learn. I don't have all of the accolades that I've been reading about the people involved in this. I'm really excited just to get back into the realm of introducing myself to and meeting new writers, authors, and people who have succeeded in the industry, just because it's so hard to really finalize something. I work with a lot of foster kids and trauma kids. So my goal is Foster Kid Fierce, our initiative that my sister and I started through her company. But really, my life coaching, everything that I'm doing, it revolves around writing. It revolves around the experiences and the stories and the things that come from those experiences with my clients when I'm life coaching. That really propels my writing. So I'm just trying to, like I said, meet professional, I say professional authors. If you have one out of the top of your book, or your desk drawer and into a publisher's hands, and just become inspired with like-minded people. And so that's why I joined today.
Wonderful. Well, Amira, you have a lot of accolades. Do not downplay the accolades that you have. You have so many accolades from either coaching, foster parenting, and so much more. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'll go ahead and call on the next person. We have Christopher Gaman. Would you like to introduce yourself, Christopher? Tell us who you are in a minute or less. You're on mute if you are. Okay, well, we'll go to the next person. We have Dwayne.
Christopher's one of my interns, and I know he might be on mute, but he'll unmute at the right time.
Okay, well, Dana, now that you're speaking, do you mind go ahead introducing who you are?
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Stefanie, and the panel of authors, and Gloria for this initiative. I remember when it was in its makings, and it's just nice to see how it's evolved. Zach, you gave me permission today to be more diverse in my post on LinkedIn. I generally choose that for my Facebook, where I share about my dog and my cooking, because I'm a lover of all of those and travel. So I kind of limit it and try to make LinkedIn just more professional with a little dab of the other. But I'm going to show up completely as myself. If they want to follow and comment, so be it. If not, they're missing out.
That's the right attitude. And if you ever want
Yes.
to chat about how to make it work best, feel free.
I will. I actually reached out, so I'd like to talk to you about the scheduling. But my name is Dana Austin, and I'm right here in Hotlanta. We are truly living up to our name, as they are across the nation. I am a transformational writers coach and host of the Writers Conference, in which several of, at least half of them, maybe 1/3 of the people on the line will be there in Puerto Rico, December 7th through 10th this year, as our speakers, panelists, and everything is coming together lovely. And we're also hosting a Global Chamber meetup December 6th in Puerto Rico. So if you haven't already signed up to come, or you want to come for the create side and play a little bit more, you can do that too. But come, this is us coming together. I head up Global Chamber here in Atlanta. We've got some great things coming up. Of course, it's on the calendar, so you can just check that out. Global Chamber Innovation Summit, Global Chamber International State of the Metro. And if I had to say one word about me that kind of describes me in a nutshell, I'm a connector that loves tea and international business around tea. So
All right. Thank you so much, Dana. We appreciate it. Dwayne Conover, you're next. At least 1 minute or less, because we have 5 minutes before 11. We have something that we must do. So Dwayne, would you like to introduce yourself and who you are?
Yes, I'm the president of Gloria Peterson's fan club, and I just come on here to encourage every one of you and just have a fun time with it. So thank you for letting me listen, and I just enjoyed every bit of this morning. So thank you all very much.
Well, thank you. We're so glad that you are the president of our fan club. That is wonderful. We have Terry. Terry, you're up next. You have a minute or less. Would you like to introduce yourself? You're on mute. You're on mute if you are saying anything.
Hello. Yeah, we can. Hello.
Hi there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, well, I'm Kevin Levine, one of the two global advisors for the Global Chamber in the state of Utah. Well, basically, I'm a big book reader. So in fact, I love what you're doing on this club. And in fact, I have my own book clubs with all my reference and books and notes and stuff like this. I'm basically an entrepreneur, a global advisor, photographer, helping people to come and create jobs in this part of the United States. I'm based in Park City, in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, between the Bay Area and Denver. I'm a French-speaking tourist guide. I love fooding. Yeah, basically here to help also develop the global chamber in this part of the USA. Voilà, hopefully what I do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Terry. We really appreciate it. Can you, someone put in the chat, can you please put in your information, some regarding your own book club? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Lainey, I'm going to turn it over to you for a couple of minutes, and after that, we'll turn it over to Doug to close us out. So Lainey, thank you so much.
Thanks, Stephanie. I'm Lainey Denslow, based in San Jose, California. I'm the chair of the Global Chamber Advisory Board here for the Bay Area. We too have some events coming up, so check the Global Chamber calendar and please come and join us. Thank you, everybody who spoke today. Zach, great to see you again. Don, thank you for an explanation that I hadn't been able to find. So little good learning this morning. And I am excited that I'll be the moderator next month. Thank you, Gloria, for letting me do that. And we have 4 really interesting speakers. We have one of our longstanding members of the Authors Club, Michael Quigley, who's going to present about his, coming from the UK. And he has a second book called Loving Leadership, something that will apply to everybody around the world. And then we have 3 brand new first-time presenters, first-time authors who all have books that relate to international business very clearly. Tamina Watson from Seattle, it has a book titled Startup Visa US, Immigration Guide for Startups and Founders. Natalie Kelly, who's actually going to be speaking to us from Paris, where she's launching her book called Take Your Company Global, The New Rules for International Expansion. And our third of the focused on international business books is Gabor Holt, and his book is titled Dragon Suit, The Golden Age of the Expatriate Executive in China. And I can imagine he's going to have some very interesting stories to share with us. So please join us next month as we continue the series that Gloria started and we've all benefited from. So thank you very much. Thanks, Stephanie. And I'll turn it back to Doug, I think.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Lainey. Thank you both, Don and Zach. Great conversation today and really looking forward to next month. I met Tamina. She was in Seattle and I think I was in LA, and we had a conversation, and she's off the charts in terms of what she brings to the table, what she has a vision for in her book, what she's implemented and what she's implementing. And so she's just one of the 4. It just blows my mind. Michael Quigley being another one, obviously. So I'm looking forward to that. And one of the things that Lainey is doing such an amazing job with for Global Chamber San Francisco is those events. And she mentioned the 2 that are coming up, the one on wine, September 22nd, and then the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation preview meeting on October 11th. So if you're in San Francisco, come to that. And then the wine one is available virtually on September 22nd. So check out the Global Chamber event calendar. Mainly what we do is make connections, and we do events. And so today's event is another way that we make connections. So it's great to see some new faces, great to see some experienced faces. And so definitely reach out for members, reach out for us to us anytime for any help that you need. The two main questions we always ask is, who do you want to meet? And then the second question is, how else can we help? And we're diligently doing that every day. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Guys. Thank you.